Good day. Welcome to Career and Training right here on AFIA TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. I am Ifoma Ajimobi, Ifi Melody, your host, live from the city of Enugu. Career and Training is that special show where we get to learn from various professionals from all fields. We get to learn, and it also helps young people decide what their career choice would be. We bring experts, experienced professionals who know their onions and who are also standing out to tell us what it takes to really be good in their profession. On today's Career and Training, we are looking at something that is always dear to my heart. We're talking about journalism that impacts. And to take us through the learning process today, I have no other person but someone we call Easy with Efize, live in the studio here. She's a renowned broadcast journalist. She's worked for over 8 years in the media sector and is also currently the brand manager of the Joy Onyeso Coaching Consult. Welcome, Easy.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
I know you're a sparkling woman on radio.
Yes.
I mean, we had that in common.
When you are on radio, they always find a name for you.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I wasn't Ifi Melody until I started doing radio.
I can relate. Same.
Yeah. All right. Good to really have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And I always start from the very beginning. What made you go into this profession?
Okay. I would say I stumbled into radio. I wasn't looking for it. It's not something, some people have their parents as, trained as lawyers or doctors, and then you told that line. No, my mom was a teacher.
Okay.
My father was, he was into business and contract work. So it was the only person who had anything to do with journalism in my family is my aunt, or was my aunt. She worked then with Minaj, defunct Minaj. Yes, and then ABS. So she was Mwakego Meko Wulu then, but now married Onka. So that's the only thing I had in my family. But I stumbled into radio when I went for my youth service.
Okay.
Interestingly.
Okay.
I never nursed that ambition or thought about going into the career.
Oh, really?
Before you go for NYSC, that's National Youth Service Corps, for those of us in Nigeria, you get people advising you on what to do, what not to do. So I was told to participate in OBS, that's Orientation Broadcasting Service.
Probably they've heard that beautiful voice.
So I took the advice of people who told me to go, and I did. And I read the news the first time, and people started looking my way, and I grew up, I was very shy. You wouldn't believe. I was that shy girl when I was small. And then I thought people were looking at me after I read the news. So I would just read the news and I would leave OBS. I didn't want to stay there. So I remember a friend, Sam Toll. He's from the Southwest. He told me, do something with this. There is something for you in broadcast journalism. And I think that was the story. So after that, I went to CDS, Publicity CDS. Then I remember Ugoi Kerelo, if he can still remember, he was the president, and I called him Presido. So he would call me. I was not part of the CDS. He would call me to come and read the news. They had a segment for core members, then Impurity FM Oka. So I did once or twice, and I was done. Actually, I wanted to be work with the SSS.
Oh, really?
Then State Security Service, yes. Because I served in the Deputy Governor's Office, the then Deputy Governor of Anambra State, His Excellency Emeka Sibudu. I saw the way, the glory they had. They had this thing, and I have the height. So I said, I would like to work there.
This will look good on you.
Yes. I had dreams.
But in secondary school, university, what was like your dream career?
The first job I ever did was a travel agent. I was a travel agent. I worked with a travel agency. Oh. And then I started nursing the, ambition of going into the aviation sector fully as an air hostess, I remember.
Okay.
I had a contact then while I worked as a travel agent who wanted to link me to work with Qatar Airways. And then, here in Nigeria to Arik Air. But like I said, I stumbled into this while I was nursing all of that, in the midst of that, this job came. I just went to see my friend at Hot FM, or Eberry was her name, radio name. And she was the one that gave me the name Easy with Efizi.
Oh.
Because she brought me into the industry, and like a sister, you know, from church, I sold something to her on Sunday. She said, come on Monday to Hot FM, come take your money. So I was there with the husband now, who was not the husband then, he was a producer, Uzone. And they said, we have a space here. Why don't you come in? I was like, I don't know what to do. The only experience I had was in camp. She said, come hang out with me on my show, Saturday, Sunday. And that was it. So I was interviewed when the time came to be interviewed. And out of 12 people, I was the person they were looking for. So that started my journey in 2012 in the broadcast industry, radio precisely in Nigeria.
Wow. Out of 12 people.
Out of 12.
You were the person they were looking for.
I was the one they were looking for.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. How has it been? It's been like 8 years now going. What would you say makes a good journalist or broadcast professional?
I remember reading the story of Larry King and his book, and he said something about honesty. Honestly, I want to be very, very appreciative of the fact that you have me here. I resisted coming here because I'm used to being on the other side asking questions, but then I'm here. So one thing I learned from Larry King is be honest as someone who wants
That's
to
one
speak.
book I've read too.
Yes.
How to talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Yes, you know it. And he talked about his experience of the first time he came on air. And, you know, he didn't know what to say. And the boss came in and said, this is communications business. The 5 words got him to, he opened the mic, he said, this is my first day at work. I've never done this before. And my boss just walked in now and said this to me. So he had to connect to people by being honest. Why I'm saying honesty is that we need to be sure, or you need to be sure why you're getting into the industry. Why? Be honest with yourself. Yes, it's good to have a job. It's good to be paid. But beyond the pay, be honest to ask yourself those big questions. Why am I here? What am I here for? How am I going to accomplish this? With whom? And then when? You know, when is my time to say goodbye or keep being here or transit into something bigger? So these are questions one needs to ask themselves. I mentioned honesty because sometimes if we are not careful to be honest about why we are in the broadcasting industry, then we can become submerged in a lot of things. It's, you know, it's not so much of a thank you job, right? You're there. So you have to be passionate about it. What is the purpose? What is driving you as a person who wants to make impact? And I believe when I saw the topic, you know, journalism that makes impact, I thought to myself, before you can make impact on the society or on people who connect with you when you talk on TV or when you talk on radio, you want to be sure of who you are first. What do you represent? Because you cannot give what you don't have. As a person, how have you been impacted as a person who also is on that journey in the broadcast industry? What and who are impacting you? That would make the difference on how you impact the environment for good or for bad. Really.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Now, when you talk about trainings, what are the kind of training you've gone to that has impacted you, you know, in becoming a good professional in this area?
Interestingly, the first training I went for, I paid for it. I was working in Hot FM then, and you know, we had internal trainings, you know, in-house, but then we were told, okay, more would come. But I had that thing in me that said, I don't just want to wait for the organization. What if there are things that they are focusing on, or there are obstacles that are making them not to keep to the word? I know they have good intentions. So I said, okay, let me take a leave. I went on a leave. That was in 2013. I heard someone, Muna, if she can still remember her name then, Muna Wuneme, but she's married now. She mentioned, while I was doing my radio show on Sunday, she mentioned Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria Training School, Lagos. So I said, I just wrote it, I kept it. So I went, I researched, I asked questions, and then I returned in 2014. Before I left for that training, I was ready to resign the job. I was that driven because I wanted to know more. I studied sociology and anthropology, so it was not even my field. Like I said, I stumbled into broadcast journalism. So I wanted to go and know the basics. There is always something about the basics, and that decision made a difference in my life. People say, "Oh, you speak well. Oh, have you lived in Lagos?" No, I was born and bred in Onitsha, Anambra State.
Oh, Onitsha.
Oh, yes.
I did not even know.
Yeah.
Oh.
See. So people, I know I have the gift. Yes, it's one thing to have the gift, but it's not enough. You need to train. So if you find yourself in an organization where it's not forthcoming as you expect, don't just get angry or get discouraged. Go for it if you have the means. So that's what I did. I went for that training, and that started the journey for me. I went to Radio Netherlands Training Center. It was through my office then in Hot FM that I knew about it. I remember Obi Fado, if he can remember. I'm calling names because I'm grateful. I'm telling a story of how journalism, broadcast journalism, has shaped and impacted me to be able to impact my world, whether I'm on air or off air. So I went to Radio Netherlands Training Center 2017 I went with Chimezie Uchabo now. She was Chimezie Zembo then. And I talked about it. I said, hey, there is something we can go for. Let's not just wait for our office. And we applied and we got scholarship from Dutch government. And we went for 3 weeks. So she did investigative journalism. I did a course on, producing media to counter radicalization. So that also changed the narrative for me. It started helping me to understand how to tell stories better, how to engage with the audience better. And that trip opened the door for other people in my office. And I'm mentioning Vincent earlier. I think you're going to see clips of my story much later. But then Vincent went for the same training 3 weeks and then came back and said, hey, it's possible to do master's still on that scholarship. And I kept going and developing myself that way. I've also had opportunities to be trained through Dream FM. I think I had a lot of opportunities, and I'm grateful. 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM here. I've been trained by BBC. I've been trained by Voice of America, different trainings and workshops within Nigeria. I remember we went to BBC office at Abuja. We had like a week. We stayed for a week. It was like a camp, and then we produced something together. Different journalists from the 6 geopolitical zones. So I've been opportune to have all of these, but it didn't come that way at first. I had to tell myself, go for this. If this is important, and that's why I said from the beginning, be honest with yourself. Why are you there? If you don't tell yourself that truth, you're going to find yourself struggle and get into a lot of vices that come with the job. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of vices that come with the job.
Oh, yes.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, what are the challenging parts of being a professional journalist? And yeah, I mean, we're in Nigeria and we're in the same field, and we know what a lot of media professionals and journalists go through. But what are those challenges, and how have you been able to overcome them?
One of the challenges, time. If you are not someone who is given to timeliness, if you are that person that believes in, oh, Nigerian time, sorry, it's not for you. Or if you have a passion that can grow beyond that habit and allow yourself to be stretched to develop that skill, great. I have had to jump a fence to go for my radio show on a Sunday morning, Ify. I don't joke with you on that. The gate was locked. I was awake usually I wake up every Sunday morning. I did Word versus World. The program is still on for almost 10 years now. It's going to 10 years. And I was supposed to get ready. I was ready for 4:35, and then the driver would come pick me up from 5. So 5, he was there, and the person who usually opens the gate was not there. And what was I going to do? The rational thing to do was to call my program's head, Jude. And he was a very understanding, and I loved working with him. He was very understanding, Jude Thomas Dawam. So, but I said to myself, no. What I was doing, I loved it more at that point. And I am honest, I loved it more, not just because of the pay, because that's another challenge. The pay, the pay is not that encouraging. But there are lots of other opportunities that you can leverage on once you're consistently pursuing your passion and your purpose via the broadcast journalism industry. So that happened. I jumped the fence, I went to work, and
you had to be there on the show and on time. I
was there. 6 a.m., I opened the mic, they heard my voice. Good morning and welcome to Dreamspiration. So yes.
How you got there? And how you run the show,
make it happen.
Your viewers, I mean, your listeners,
exactly.
they don't know at all.
Exactly. So,
the show must go on, as to put it.
That's what we say. The show must go on. There are no excuses. And I'm so glad I learned that working in the broadcast journalism industry. It helped me to develop that skill of timeliness. And it also helped me to survive when I travel to Netherlands, because they are very time conscious. They don't know what it is when you say you'll be in class at 9 and then you're showing up at 9:30. No, it doesn't work that way. If you tell a Dutch that this is when you're coming, they expect you to be there, even show up minutes before the time. So,
all right.
That's
just before we round off on the show, how have you seen yourself impact lives doing journalism?
Impact lives. Well, I think journalism became, like I said earlier, it became not just a job that I was being paid for, because most times I was on leave and I had to go to work. Even if I traveled out, I remember going for a wedding and I told my family I had to leave that Saturday because I had to be on air Sunday morning. It became a ministry for me. I would say that radio has been a journey of redemption for me. Getting into radio and the people I've come to meet and I still have in my circle, holding my hands to grow and to be better, I am grateful for that. So that has helped me to also become a better person to impact. I remember a vivid story of just a young girl who was on the street and was, mentally unstable. She didn't know how to get home. And we went to fellowship that Saturday evening, and then one of her brothers, Brother Jonathan, reached out and said, hey, he knew I was working with Dream FM. He said, I don't know what to do here. So it was not my business, so to say, because it was out of time, the time I had to work. It was a Saturday, I needed to rest, right? But we took that up. We followed up. We went to the office of the is it the commissioner?
Okay.
Yeah, for gender affairs. Yes, we frequented the office. I talked about it on radio, and finally, we were actually at the police headquarters the day the parents, reunited with the girl. So sometimes you find yourself in that situation where you have to go over and above to make things happen, right? And to impact people's lives. And my story in radio is that I have been impacted so much by the relationships I've cultivated in Dream FM. Shout out to Okeodogu. I became someone who could present a political program. AFIA, I didn't know I could do that. I was given the opportunity to do that. And so the thing is, sometimes you think, oh, this is where I'm good at. I may not be able to get here, but it's not true. Allow the people that have been positioned in your life to help you develop the potential, the skill that you don't even know you have, the potential you don't know you have within you, right? I give a shout out to Gloria Ojemodi, to my colleagues in Dream FM. A lot of them I may not be able to mention that have helped me to become. And most importantly, I also want to thank the pastor that I did the program with. He's my pastor, Pastor Kemute Udu. It is through that program that we've also understood what it means to consistently impact lives. I mean, there is something about emphasis. When you make emphasis on a particular issue, it helps the people to become established, whether for good or for bad. So using
media is a tool for that.
Exactly. Media, and that informed the topic I did for my master's thesis at Erasmus University, Rotterdam in the Netherlands. I talked about how we influence conflict or peace by the way we report. So how do we frame? So using that medium, using that program, Word versus World, which still airs on Sundays, I've seen how people's lives can be transformed for good. I've seen how people can go from being bitter, being battered, and coming to a place of purpose and understanding that there is more they can do to make the society better, because we are holistic. Sometimes we tend to focus so much more on the physical, but we are spirit, soul, body, right? So I want to say thank you to Pastor Kemote Udu and a lot of other people I've met through the radio. Barrister Gozie Odemezue today, Professor Joy Onyeso, who I'm working for at the Joy Onyeso Coaching Consult. It's all part of the people that have been brought together to build me up as someone who worked in the broadcast journalism industry. And I talked about the challenge of cost, right? The challenge of payment.
Take
yes,
home.
Exactly.
Yes.
There are other things you could do. I met these women by serving. I even remember doing jingle for, I think it was Smiling Through the program Barrister Gozi started doing with us then. And the relationship started. And before you know it, I started becoming involved in the outreaches that they did. So we do MC jobs, right? There are other gigs that come out and you could do reports, you could do documentaries. There are other avenues through which you can make the ends meet. You don't necessarily have to bow to the brown envelope syndrome.
All right. Yes. You are surely going to come back.
Okay.
But we'll keep talking about this. Now, we will have to round off the show. But just before we round off, here is our book recommendation. And it's Elements of Journalism. Our book recommendation says Elements of Journalism. And that is by Bill Kovac and Tom Rosenthal. And yes, I would add to that, if you can pick up Larry King's book on how to talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime, go for it. Well, we'll have to round off on the show today. Thank you for watching. I am Ifoma Ajumobi. Thank you once again, Ezine Aniwe,
Thank you for having
a seasoned broadcast journalist and currently brand manager of the Joy on Yes So Coaching Consult. Easy with a fizzy.
Sparkling Woman on radio then, now on AFIA TV. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Do have a beautiful day.
Amen.
Join us again, same time next week on AFIA TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. Have a beautiful day.